Hi, everybody. I'm Bridget Rates, the owner of Whispering Stones and Solstice. And today, in our latest crystal conversation, we're talking to my friend Bethany.
Hello.
She is a very interesting person, besides being my fellow Aries,
Yay.
with a rising in Aquarius.
I know,
I
right?
know. Wow. We really are intended to work together.
The first time I met you, I was like, ooh, I need to know her.
Oh, that's so sweet. I felt the same. Oh, so she stopped by our store today. She's just launched a line of these gorgeous bath salts. We're super excited to carry them. You'll see them in our next live. But she stopped by and we're talking about the ancestors. So first, you have some really interesting titles of what you do. So can you share those with us?
Yes, I absolutely can. So I am an ancestral guide and a shamanic timeline weaver. Yes. And so really what we do when I work with people is we dig into not only the lineage, but also past lives, and just kind of unwind and reset the timeline, any traumas, anything that may just be kind of sticking around and
holding you back,
causing some issues.
Causing what in the world could that be? Just in this lifetime alone, people have a whole bouquet of those. So I loved the timeline weaver. That sounded so interesting. So we're so excited to have Bethany today. And I thought I'd just prime our conversations by asking a couple questions.
Oh, let's go.
Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Number one. You say you work with the ancestors. Why does anybody want to work with their ancestor? I mean, you know, people talk all the time about I'm working with my guides or my angels or with my higher self or with a medium or a tarot reader. But working with the ancestors has always intrigued me.
Yeah.
It just seems like, well, I think part of the time too is you hear from different people. Even within your life, you'll hear from your great aunt and you'll hear stories about the family, etc. But I think a lot of us have connections to people maybe that we've never even met because we've heard about them growing up or whatever.
Absolutely.
So why work with your ancestors?
So working with the ancestors provides another level, kind of a path into the past, especially with the family lineage. And some traumas that can get stuck in there.
Wow.
That, you know, we're still going through the motions of the trauma and don't even realize why we're doing the things that we are doing.
Because maybe it didn't happen to us specifically in our lifetime. So maybe something that happened several generations down the line or even further.
Absolutely.
Still kind of echo forward with us.
There's a saying that, 7 generations back, 7 generations forward. So what we do today either has come from 7 generations back.
Okay.
So, great
grandmother
did things a certain way because she needed to stay safe, feed the children, whatever.
Right.
Gets in our DNA. And then any impacts that you have, can
go forward
in the line.
So if I'm playing small in this lifetime, or my first inclination, say, for example, may be not to take the biggest step forward on a project or on any sort of level like that, is it possible it comes from prior generations doing that for safeguarding?
Absolutely.
And if I don't do anything about it, it may not only affect me in this lifetime, but it could impact my children and their children and forward. It's interesting how, even though we're totally distinct and separate people, that connectivity continues even after death.
Oh, absolutely. So energetically, it's in the DNA. So not only is it, the DNA literally changes as a result of trauma. So there are studies that look at, Holocaust survivors. Their DNA is physically different and changed as a result of going through what they went through.
Wow.
And it ripples down into children, grandchildren, things like that. So, but then also energetically. So, for example, your grandmother, you were in her womb at one point in time. Okay, let me explain.
My mother might beg to differ on that. With her 16 hours of labor, I'm thinking she's claiming me.
How this works is, at one point in time, your mother, when your grandmother was pregnant with her, developed all the eggs that she was ever going to carry.
Okay.
So Bridget, as an egg, was in the
basket.
fetus of the mother who
Mhm.
was in the womb of the grandmother.
Gotcha.
So energetic traumas, energetic effects of what grandmother was going through impact those eggs as they're developing.
So the cellular DNA can't escape your ancestry.
It cannot.
Ah, how
You
how
can
interesting.
run, but you
cannot
cannot hide.
So you've got so that might be a good. So all right. So we've established the tie with our ancestors, even if we never knew them, no matter how many generations back.
Mhm.
We've established that cellular tie. But how does working with them help us today, or help potentially our children going forward?
So I mentioned kind of unraveling the knots of the lineage, that sticky stuff. So working with the ancestors definitely helps to dig into that sticky stuff and kind of tease out maybe what needs to be released, what no longer serves. But it also provides a connection to the homeland. And for so many of us, we're sitting here in Atlanta, Georgia, in the U.S. today.
Right.
For so many of us, our families, got to the U.S. over the past few hundred years, leaving homelands. Mine is Europe.
Mine is Scotland and Ireland.
Okay. So left something that was thousands of miles away, got to this place, maybe a few generations lived in a certain place. For example, the past few generations of my nuclear family is in the Michigan, Indiana area.
Okay.
Prior to that, there were some people that were out in Oklahoma.
Okay.
So, came over here,
ping,
and now I'm
ping,
in Atlanta, Georgia.
Mhm.
So I don't have roots here like I would with the ancestral lands. So working with the ancestors allows us an energetic rooting back into the past and rooting back into the ancestral lands where for thousands of years our families, walked on the earth and did the celebrations and had the cyclical living of our ancestors. And if you think about it, the way that the ancestors were cared for after death, their bones were returned to the earth. So the earth literally was made up of
your ancestors. Well, that is really interesting, because so many of us, I've done the 23andMe spit in the tube thing, which was fascinating. But I've also done some Ancestry.com to kind of discover where my roots come from. And I guess that's true that we've lost that connection with, a lot of the cultural festivals and ties and traditional things that we did. I've definitely Ireland and Scotland, and you don't see that here. When I went back to Ireland, though, this past fall, I was me and my daughter both absolutely shocked at how comfortable we immediately felt. It almost felt like we had come home, and I don't mean like get the strings so the symphony starts playing, but we had come home to like we'd been there before. Yes. It was like we'd just flown back in from a trip, and there we were. I understood everybody. Granted, they speak English, but with their cool accent, I understood kind of how the way they did things. I literally felt like I was a total part of it. So it's probably not a mistake.
It's not a mistake.
Yeah.
And that feeling is actually the ancestors reaching out, or something in your DNA recognizing, oh, I'm familiar with this place from an energetic level.
Yeah.
I had a very similar experience a few years ago. I had the opportunity to go to London to accompany my husband on a business trip. So he had to go into the office, during the week, and I was on my own.
Getting into trouble,
just wandering around London. But from the very moment that the plane landed, my body had this, exhale reaction, I'm home. And it was the wildest thing that I had ever left.
You didn't expect it.
I didn't expect it.
Yep.
And it was just like,
wow. Yep.
And it was before all of this. The ancestors have been reaching out to me for a while.
I imagine, given you work with them.
But it was before really all of this took hold. And so it was the wildest thing, how is it that I'm home when I'm in a foreign land?
Yep, it does. It's totally different. So if we've lost the connection with our ancestral lands, then it just goes to figure we've lost our connection with Mother Earth. Because I mean, I'm always amused by the fact that we call going out and putting our feet barefoot on the land earthing. Like we had to give it a whole new marketing term to get people to run barefoot outside. But there is a real sense that we don't connect cyclically or in any sort of even like festival way or whatever, or even sometimes even through the seasons with Mother Earth, and draw in that support, leave behind the energetic things that don't serve us. We have a very symbiotic relationship with Mother Earth, and I think what you're telling me is because we aren't involved in some of the traditional things that we did as families historically, we're missing some of that.
We are missing some of it.
Mhm.
Absolutely. So many components, nuanced components, because we are not eating the foods in season that we normally would have.
Oh, well, that's
Right.
oh, definitely.
Because we are
Can get it half a world away because it's their summer.
right.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we are not observing maybe the natural rhythms of light cycles.
Right. Especially
of
in
rest
the
in the winter
especially-
time.
Yeah, you had a really great post on your Instagram about that. Sacred Sage Unleashed on
Sacred
Instagram.
Sage Unleashed on Instagram.
Love that.
Yes.
You all follow her if you don't. It's just one of my favorite things. And it was talking about how we just typically need 2 more hours of sleep during the winter months, which I'm sure our ancestors who are finally done with the harvest, finally done with everything, they needed to rest up to get ready for spring.
Absolutely.
Right? And what else were they going to do? The light was down. I mean, it was like, okay, there you go.
Yes.
And I thought that's probably why we all feel so tired.
It's why we feel tired. And if you think about it, they had gotten the harvest, they had preserved the food, they were basically looking at, okay, retreating, going inward a little
Right.
bit. And this time of year, we've come through Halloween, we've come through Thanksgiving, and what do? We rev up for Christmas.
Oh my goodness, for the holiday season.
Yeah.
Just every religion, every community's got some sort of celebration. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, and we go.
Which is
To-do
when
list,
we
and
should
we
backpedal,
should be.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, oh gosh.
Yeah. So
I feel
some
that.
of the traditions, I think it's Sweden that has a tradition of on Christmas Eve they give each other books.
And then they read the books
And
for the
they
rest
curl up and
Oh my gosh, we were so excited about that. in my
Sign me
house.
up for
Yes,
this.
absolutely. That would be, can you imagine? All little Americans reading books on Christmas
my
Eve instead of the
gosh.
poor parents trying to figure out like where to put
Get
everything
Kids
and
to bed.
how to get kids to bed and Santa running all over the place. Yes. All right, so here's my next question for you.
Mhm.
Okay, so let's say I'm now convinced I want to work with my ancestors.
Okay.
Because I just think, even if I'm a skeptic and I think it would be interesting,
Mhm.
okay, how do you go about deciding which ancestor to work with? Do they choose you? Do you choose them? How do you go about getting started with an ancestor?
Okay. So, yes.
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 So she failed to answer, like a good Aries, she failed to answer my question.
So sometimes the ancestors do reach out to you. Sometimes you can choose which one you want to work with.
Okay.
And sometimes it's a combination. So
Okay.
I tell people, start slowly. Like, right? I mean, we always
Don't barrel
as
in.
soon as we're interested, we want to know all the answers, right?
All the
with all the
ancestors.
metaphysical thing. I was like, tell me how to do it. Tell me how to do the thing. Am I doing it right? Right? So
First, relax.
relax,
These people are dead.
right? They aren't going anywhere.
Calm down. They'll be there when you get there.
Ancestors can reach out to you. There are so many stories of the ancestors reaching out to me before I finally got it. Ding. So they do reach out to you if you're willing to see the signs and the clues. There are people that you can actually, if you want to work with them. My father made the transition about 18 months ago, and so of course I want to work with him. He was one of my favorite people in this lifetime, and so I do have a special connection and work specifically with him.
That's awesome.
If you want to just work with the ancestors, but maybe you know something about the previous couple of generations and you think, ooh, I don't really want to work with those people, danger zone. Don't get discouraged like you can't work with anybody in your lineage, because there are so many generations, there are so many people that you can go much
Way
further
back.
back,
Yeah.
way back.
You can
There's
skip
somebody.
you can skip the baddies.
You can skip the baddies, and you can find somebody that is healed and well, and you can call in. You can just kind of open yourself. I want to call in a healed and well. Very important.
Healed and well.
Healed and well ancestor.
Because ancestors, from what I understand about, guides, angels, ancestors, all the people that sometimes we call in when we need assistance, ancestors, unlike guides and angels, who I always kind of feel are like divine counterparts or companions to us, always looking for our highest and best result.
Mm-hmm.
Ancestors kind of have more of the flavor of people that
Humans.
which, I mean, they can be also very selfless and very altruistic,
Mm-hmm.
okay? But from what I've understood, at least from the ancestors of mine that I've worked with or talked with, they maintain a certain amount, or they show you a certain amount of their personality. They don't become these perfect angelic beings that are just beaming the perfect light all the time.
Right.
It's a different kind of interaction, right?
There's a different flavor. Yes.
Yeah.
So the veil does lift when you go to the other side. And so any clouding that may take place, any forgetfulness when we take human form of like we're all connected and everything is love, lifts. And so they may be able to see a little higher viewpoint if they're healed and well. And so typically it's ancestors, spirit guides, angels. So, the vibration kind of increases.
So they may go from basic to like the deluxe version of themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they realize why we're here. They can leave behind perhaps some of their baggage
Yes.
when they deal with us.
Yes.
But they're still themselves.
They're themselves.
Okay.
Enough of the flavor comes through that
it's your grandfather, or it's what people used to describe as like my great Aunt Annie.
Yes.
Apparently was just a wild woman who was like smoking marijuana behind the sunflowers. Like way before it was popular. But she apparently,
she's a trendsetter.
She was. She apparently had so many children she didn't know what to do, so she headed out to the sunflower fields.
Coping mechanism.
Indeed. She is the one I would really like to meet. She sounds like a Stitch or Banana.
Yeah.
Did I tell you I have an ancestor named Banana?
You did. You told me an ancestor named Banana, and this is her given name, yes?
Yes, it is her given name. I used to, for fun, I used to wander through the Ancestry.com, and on my grandmother's side, very interesting, like Tennessee area, lots of children, lots of stuff going on, and I came across an ancestor probably 3 or 4 generations back named Banana Spence, which was just caused great riotous laughter with my children. But recently it was interesting because you know how Ancestry.com will try to get you to come back and do stuff. We've got another leaf on this one or that one, whatever they say. And I got
a banana leaf.
Banana leaf. Yes. And I got an email this past week that says there are more documents that have been discovered on Banana Spence, which the first time I've ever seen anything about her.
Mm-hmm.
And I just laughed. So is that maybe one of the ways that our ancestors reach out to us?
Absolutely.
Because I was just in stitches when I got it. At first, it was just a mood lifter. Because she's the one with the funniest name. So, me being immature just enjoyed that. But and she must have figured that out. But it came through. So I'm kind of wondering, it's like you could maybe choose one that you wanted to work with and ask for them. Mm-hmm. But do they ever reach out to us?
Absolutely. They leave little breadcrumbs along
Leaves.
the trail. Leaves. So yes, I would definitely say that is Banana reaching out to you.
Which would just be a hoot.
Yeah.
We'll have to work with Banana.
Other things could be, finding an article or just little
things that bring them back to your consciousness.
Right.
And maybe make you curious.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting is
that?
Yes,
little things that they know you and how you operate, and
right.
They know that this little nugget
might pique your interest.
If you don't quite see the first one, that another little nugget along the same vein.
Oh, there you go.
Maybe this is something to look into. So they absolutely can, just like guides can give signs and things like that. They leave little trails. And if you're attuned and if you're kind of like, looking that direction,
you'll see it. Mm-hmm. Do they ever show up in our dreams?
Absolutely.
Okay. I wonder if sometimes the dream state is when, your guards are down. You know,
Mhm.
you're just kind of floating out there. You're astral traveling. You're doing whatever you're doing,
Yes.
and then all of a sudden they appear.
Yeah.
How interesting. So
Mhm.
they're trying to reach
They're
us.
tapping our shoulder any way that we can, and whether we intercept that or not depends on how open we are
And how or
how
oblivious or
lifey
not.
life gets.
Yeah, how lifey life gets. Imagine, especially in December when we're taping this.
Yes.
All right. So I've loved this. Will you come back and talk to us about how to work with, first, how to assess whether this is an ancestor you should work with,
Yes, very important.
how you should take the first couple of steps to try to work with them.
Mhm.
And then I also want to hear from you about setting up an ancestral altar. I just think that sounds so interesting. And we'll incorporate some stones because I know you also work with stones.
I do. I work specifically with ancestor altar stones.
Oh,
And so
cool.
these are stones that actually Bridget is my supplier. Very
There's some continuity.
Indeed,
Mhm.
indeed. And so these stones are taken and put through a very special integration process to bring in codes that my ancestors gave to me. And so they're specifically used for reaching out to a specific ancestor or healing a specific ancestor, issue or,
Nice.
things like that are used in meditation. So I'd love to take you through.
Oh gosh, that would be so cool.
Yes.
I would absolutely love that. All right, well, we're going to definitely have to have you back. In the meantime, if somebody wants to reach out to you to work with their ancestor, how do they get in touch with you?
So you can get in touch with me at Instagram at Sacred Sage Unleashed, on my website, sacredsageunleashed.com.
Okay.
And those are the best ways to be able to reach me.
And if you, I know you're about to start a YouTube channel.
I
I'm
am.
super excited about that. So we'll definitely put that up and we'll tag you once it. In the meantime, if you want to comment to us and want Bethany to get in touch with you, just leave us a comment and we'll hook the two of you guys up.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like it.
I love working with guides, angels, ancestors. Just sounds like another, perhaps more 3D, 4D, 5D way to work on this plane with them. And I think we can use all the tools we can.
We absolutely can. I love working with the ancestors because it really connects the earth energy, which I'm very earthy, along with kind of a spiritual component. So.
I think that's great. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us today.
Thank you. I'm so glad I stopped by. Thank you, everybody, for stopping by to see us.
You guys have a great day.